The 303 Squadron, the broken heart that saved Britain. The beginning of the end. September 1, 1939. The nation of Poland, the first to resist Hitler, was bleeding out. In just weeks, it was crushed by the German blitzkrieg from the west and Soviet treachery from the east. For the young pilots of the Polish Air Force PLF, it was not just a defeat, it was a festering wound. They had witnessed the obsolescence of their brave PZLP.11 fighters against the modern Messerschmitt Bf 109. The Polish courage could not compete with German technology. Their P.11s, designed in the early 30s, were outmatched in speed, climb rate, and weaponry. The PLF lost over 300 aircraft in a single month. The final blow came on September 17, with the Soviet invasion. The promise of Allied aid had been broken. Poland was partitioned. The state dissolved, but the army did not. The Odyssey for freedom. Hundreds of pilots received an implicit order: escape. Their mission was not to defend Warsaw, but to survive to fight another day. The escape route was a grueling ordeal of months, an epic migration through the Balkans, Romania, where they were interned and escaped, then, across the Black Sea, Turkey, and the Mediterranean, to finally reach Marseilles, France. The frustration in France. In 1940, they attempted to resume the fight in France using Morane-Saulnier fighters, but coordination and armament were lacking. The Battle of France quickly ended in yet another defeat. Testimony of fury. When France fell, I felt doubly betrayed. I felt that all of Europe was failing me. We had to go where the war was still being fought for real. Adapted from J. Urbanowicz. Thus, Britain, standing alone, became the last hope. Over 8,000 Polish airmen arrived on British shores. They were experts with battle scars. And they held one thing: the British, for the first time, lacked real experience of survival. The Battle of Refusal, Crichton's claim. The RAF Fighter Command was divided. Air Chief Marshal Hugh Dowding, the architect of the defense, knew he needed pilots, but the bureaucracy was suspicious. The tactical clash. The Poles flew under the principle of free hunting, see the enemy, attack them, without much concern for formation. The RAF, on the other hand, relied on the strict Dowding system, ground-controlled radar network, and tight three-ship formations. The Poles were met with skepticism. They were sent to RAF Nordholt for retraining. The tension was palpable. For an ace like Witold Urbanowicz, who had commanded a squadron, having to practice landings felt like an insult. The indiscipline of heroes. The impatience reached a critical point. It is said that, during an adaptation flight, several Polish pilots performed dangerous acrobatics, solely to prove they were more than capable. The liaison officer, John A. Kent, a Canadian by birth, became their advocate. The first flight and the unofficial first kill. On August 30, 1940, during a test flight, Sergeant Miroslav Ferik broke formation. He spotted a German Dornier Do-17. He attacked it without permission. Commander Kellett was furious, but the Dornier crashed. To protect Ferik, the kill was recorded as damage during training. It was a farce. But it proved something crucial: protocol was costing lives. Polish fury was what was needed. The RAF was running out of time. The Adler Tag had failed in its mission to destroy the RAF, but the bombing continued. British pilot losses were immense. The time had come. On August 31st, the 303 Squadron was declared operational. The only condition: the British commander had to fly the first mission and keep them in check. But in the heat of combat, those rules would quickly evaporate. The formula for vengeance: technique and tactics. To understand the success of the 303, one must understand the machine they flew and how it compared to its nemesis. The Messerschmitt Bf 109E, Emil, the workhorse of the Luftwaffe. It was the aeronautical thoroughbred. Its Daimler-Benz DB601 engine, with fuel injection, was its ace in the hole. Technical detail: the injection system allowed it to execute negative G maneuvers, pushing the nose down in a dive, without the engine cutting out, a crucial advantage in the vertical plane. The Supermarine Spitfire Mki, the iconic beauty of the RAF. Its Rolls-Royce Merlin engine was legendary, but with a carburetor that starved the engine of fuel under -G. Its strength lay in the elliptical wing and unparalleled horizontal maneuverability. Technical detail: the elliptical wing design gave it an exceptionally tight turning radius in a low-speed dogfight. The crucial armament. The Spitfire Mki was equipped with only 80.303 calories. Machine guns. This was a hail of lead, but lacked punch. The Bf-109E already carried two 20mm MGFF cannons in the wing. Armament analysis. The Poles had to learn to close the distance to maximum effect, firing at point-blank range, under 100 yards, to ensure the kill, compensating for the lack of explosive shells. The Polish tactical revolution. The British flew in rigid formations Vickers or three-ship, which left pilots blind. The Poles, influenced by the Germans, via their experience in Poland, quickly adopted the finger four, or a loose variation. Tactical analysis. The finger four formation provided better visual coverage, allowing a pilot to focus on hunting while his wingman covered his six. The psychology of the hunt. Beyond technique was mindset. Polish pilots flew higher than their targets to dive, boom and zoom, influenced by the need to fight the 109s, and in close combat, they broke all RAF rules to fly with kamikaze aggression. The František factor. The Czech Josef František, flying with the 303, was the epitome of this tactic. He scorned discipline, flying alone as a hunter. He became a Battle of Britain ace in just 4 days, with 17 kills, all in his free time. The RAF finally had to admit that the Polish, in discipline, was, in fact, tactical superiority. The broken heart of these exiles was more effective than the cold blood of protocol. Black September, the slaughter in the sky. September 1940, the Battle of Britain entered its deadliest phase. After accidentally bombing London, a furious Hitler ordered the city to become the main target. This, ironically, saved the RAF. The decisive day. September 7th was the turning point. The 303 was at the center of the action. They were scrambled against massive bomber formations escorted by Bf-109 fighters. The staggering success. In the most crucial days, September 7th to 15th, the 303 was flying multiple sorties daily. On September 11th, they shot down 16 aircraft. On September 15th, the day the Luftwaffe launched its biggest attack, the 303 shot down 13 aircraft in a single sortie. The kill record, reference 1.2 in the 6 weeks of maximum intensity of the Battle of Britain, Squadron 303 shot down 126 German aircraft. No other squadron, British, Canadian, or Czech, exceeded that number. The difference was palpable. The average Polish pilot in the RAF had a kill ratio of 1 minute and 3.07 seconds. The average British kill ratio was 1 minute and 4.95 seconds. They were operating at a level of effectiveness that doubled their hosts. Profile: Jan Zumbach, the adventurer. Behind the success was charisma. Jan Zumbach, with his famous Donald Duck mouth painted on his hurricane, embodied the Polish spirit. His aggression in combat and his social life off the airfield made him famous among the British. The 303 Squadron not only saved aircraft and airfields, but it bought time for the RAF to recover, train new pilots, and build more Spitfires. At a moment when British courage was strained, Polish fury provided the decisive edge. The price of vengeance. The human cost was immense. The squadron lost 8 pilots in action in those 6 weeks, including Ferrick and František. These men paid the ultimate price for a nation they could no longer set foot in. Churchill's quote, Churchill's famous, "Never was so much owed by so many to so few," speech resonated globally, but the British public, largely, did not know that a disproportionate number of those few spoke Polish. General Hugh Dowding, the man who doubted them, later wrote, "Had the 303 Squadron not joined the fight, I doubt we would have won the battle." The Polish contribution was, without exaggeration, the decisive factor. The fight continues, from Spitfire to Mustang. After 1940, the RAF went on the offensive. The 303, now an elite unit, participated in circus and rhubarb missions over occupied Europe. Profile: Stanislav Skalski, the supreme ace. Skalski, the top Polish ace, was a tactical master. He adapted to new aircraft, Spitfire, Mustang, and new fronts. In 1943, he was transferred to North Africa to fight in Skalski's circus, Africa and the Mediterranean. The battle there was against the best of the Luftwaffe. Skalski and other Polish aces proved their worth in a completely different environment, against high-altitude Bf-109G aircraft. The art of boom and zoom, with the P-51. With the Mustang P-51, the Polish pilots adopted the American hit and run tactics, exploiting the speed and range of the new aircraft, which outperformed their Spitfires. The PLF in the West expanded to 15 squadrons. Some 17,000 Poles served in the air, shooting down a total of 769 aircraft. They fought for liberation, but the political horizon darkened. Yalta, the price of victory. As the war neared its end, political reality imposed itself. At the Yalta Conference, 1945, the Western powers ceded Poland to the Soviet sphere of influence. For the airmen, who had fought for a free Poland, this was the final betrayal, the ratification that their immense sacrifice had been in vain. Their country was liberated, only to be occupied by another totalitarian regime. The exclusion from victory. On June 8, 1946, the Victory Parade was held in London. The Labour government, fearing to offend Stalin, denied the Polish airmen participation. Testimony, reference 1.1. We had saved London, but we were not worthy enough to march through its streets. I felt England spat on us. The heroes who had saved Britain were not welcome at their own celebration. Many chose exile, facing the dilemma of staying in a country that had politically abandoned them or returning to a communist Poland where they would face persecution and imprisonment. The fate of Skalski. The supreme ace, Stanislav Skalski, decided to return to Poland. He was immediately arrested by the Communist Secret Police, UB, accused of espionage, tortured, and sentenced to death. Only a last-minute intervention saved his life. The 303 Squadron was disbanded in 1946. Their story became a whisper, silenced by the politics of the Cold War. The story of Squadron 303 is more than the story of a plane or a battle. It is the story of debt, sacrifice, and injustice. They are proof that patriotism is not limited to a map, but to the will to fight. The vast majority of Polish pilots chose exile in Britain or countries like Canada. They had to rebuild their lives from scratch, often without recognition, or even the possibility of obtaining a civil pilot's license. It wasn't until the fall of communism in 1989 that their story began to be told openly in Poland. The heroism of Squadron 303 became a symbol of Poland's resistance against oppression on all fronts. Today, Squadron 303 is remembered as the broken heart that, with its rage and unmatched skill, saved the last democracy standing in Europe. Their legacy is a lesson on the true price of war and the ingratitude of politics. We recall Churchill's words about, "Never was so much owed by so many to so few." And among that handful of heroes, no group shone brighter, nor suffered a more bitter betrayal, than the Polish pilots. The crazy Poles of the RAF flew with the fury of those who have nothing to lose and the skill of those who have lost everything. And in doing so, they saved the free world.